it's your girl Missniecy, and I'm here to do a review for Sistas Season 10, Episode 7. The episode picks up with Zach coming to the law firm to surprise Fatima, and he goes to the front desk and asks the receptionist, is Fatima there? And the front desk receptionist lets him know that Fatima's not there and she went to lunch with Andy. He says, okay, so he also asked the front desk lady, can you leave Fatima a note? And the front desk lady was like, this is when we see Cheyenne walks in there, and she's walking in like this is not a professional setting. She has a crop top on and a miniskirt. Andrea Barnes, the front desk lady, is like, she's not here, but you could leave a message. Cheyenne is like, do you know where she at? The front desk lady is like, no, but I could tell her that you were here. Cheyenne has the nerve to ask this lady, can she go sit in Andy's office and wait? And the front desk lady is like, no, but you could wait in the waiting area. Cheyenne is like, well, can I at least look around? So the front desk lady is like, yeah, and this is when Cheyenne mentions that Andy's her sister. And the front desk lady is like, I didn't know Andy had a sister. And Cheyenne is like, yeah. So as they're walking around, Cheyenne approaches his office and she goes in there. She's like, is this Andy's office? The front desk lady is like, no, but it's one of the partner's office. Now, this is where the front desk lady had me messed up. Why would you let that girl into one of the partner's office? You should have just told her to wait in the waiting area or to leave Andy a message. Cheyenne shouldn't have any special privileges just because she's Andy's sister. Cheyenne takes it upon herself to sit behind the desk, and I'm like, this is where you messed up. You should never let her in the office because now she don't want to leave, so the front desk lady is trying to get her to leave. And as Cheyenne's leaving the office, right, she bumps into Hayden. Of course, Hayden likes what he sees, so he tries to flirt with her and use his game. But his game is drier than a Popeye's biscuit, right? He's trying to flirt with her. Cheyenne's like, I'm not interested, so he's like, here's my business card anyway. This is when Zach comes out of Fatima's office and he goes back to the front desk to thank the receptionist for allowing to leave the note, right? And this is when Cheyenne sees him and she's looking like she wants that man real bad. But Cheyenne, you about to have around and find out, babe. So she's playing like she's bumping into Zach, and Zach catches her so she doesn't fall, right? And of course she's all flirty and touchy-feely with Zach, and Zach is like, I have a woman. Then she doesn't like that answer, so she sniffs Zach and she's like, what are you wearing? He's like, taken by Fatima. Zach is like, I have a woman, and by the way, how old are you? And Cheyenne's like, I'm grown enough. And like, Cheyenne, that's very childish. Cheyenne is like, I don't see a ring on your finger, but Zach is like, I do have a woman. And the front desk lady is like, yes, he does. And Cheyenne's like, okay, but you don't like what you see? And Zach is like, no, I don't. Not at all. This is when Andy and Fatima come in, and Zach immediately says it's not what it looks like. And Fatima's like, it better not be. So everybody gets the pleasantries out. They all know that this is Andy's sister now. And Fatima's like, you better get her. And Andy's like, Cheyenne, what are you even doing here? And why are you dressed like that in the law? First, Andy, have you ever seen the way you dress in the law office? The way you be having them shirts to have your breast all out and everything, and the short skirts you be wearing? That's very unprofessional for a law office, too. So Cheyenne is still visibly flirting with Zach, and Fatima goes into her purse to grab some tissue, but everybody's thinking that she's brought to grab her blicky. So Zach and Andy try to stop her, and Fatima's like, no, I'm just grabbing my tissue. And Cheyenne is like, who are you? And Fatima, of course, just looks at her like, girl. Eventually, Cheyenne and Andy leave, but before they leave, Andy apologizes for her sister's behavior, and they're like, it's alright, just make sure she don't do it again. So when they leave, Fatima and Zach talk. Zach lets her know that he didn't get the bid for the gym. Fatima's like, that's okay, but there'll be more opportunities and they'll be bigger and better. Over at Danny's, Danny and Tony are having a conversation about the whole situation, and Tony's asking, so who's this guy? Where'd you meet him? Danny's like, why does it even matter? Danny's like, it's basically the guy that followed me from the grocery store. Tony's like, well, if I didn't do all this gambling stuff, there wouldn't have been a wedge between us. And Danny's like, it still didn't give me a right to cheat. Tony, I'm with you when you're right, because you definitely shouldn't have did all that gambling stuff. Even though you returned the money, you still shouldn't have took it anyway. Danny's like, it still didn't give me a right to cheat, though. Danny, you didn't cheat because you all weren't together. I guess in Danny's mind, just because she didn't say the words, they weren't broken up. But actions speak louder than words. After somebody takes money from me and I kick them out my house, we're broken up. What are you talking about, Danny? But okay. Tony is like, so what's going to happen between us? Tony, this is not the right time to bring up you and her's relationship. There shouldn't even be no you and her at the moment. She needs to continue to see her therapist, and you need to go to Gamblers Anonymous. After the both of y'all work on yourselves, maybe y'all could be cordial, but there's no such thing as y'all being together anymore. At least I hope not. Danny ultimately asked Tony for space. She's like, I need you to go home. Tony's like, I'll do that, but will you at least answer the phone when I call you? Danny's like, yeah, because I don't want you knocking down my door. Once Tony leaves, Danny calls Krisha and asks her to come over to talk. Over at the bank, we see Maurice working, and Miss India comes out, and she basically lets him know, Mr. Webb, I need to talk to you. Maurice is like, okay, I'll be in there when I'm done. And Miss India is basically like, I need to talk to you now. And Maurice is like, I'll be in there when I'm done. Miss India goes back into her office, and Paige tells Maurice that Miss India was looking for him earlier, and Maurice is like, so what'd you tell her? Paige is like, I told her that you took an extended lunch break because you had a headache, because I know you're going through something. And Maurice is basically like, thank you for looking out for me. But once Maurice is done what he's doing, he goes into the office and he talks to Miss India. And Miss India is basically like, how's Sabrina? Have you went to go see her? Maurice is like, yeah, I went to go see her. It's so heartbreaking, but she's making progress. Miss India basically tells him, I know your friendship with Sabrina was very strong, and the things that you got away with her, you won't be able to get away with me. Maurice is basically like, do you want a hair sample? Do you want a blood sample? Because it seems like you're out for blood. Miss India is basically like, I know you've been to something. What? Miss India is like, so after this conversation, I'm gonna need you to sign a document going over everything that we discussed. And Maurice is like, okay. So some time passes and we see Maurice reeling after his discussion with Miss India, and he's sitting there having flashbacks about Sabrina and everything. Courtney, I'm gonna say this once and I'm gonna say it again, baby. We don't need flashbacks if we just saw the episode 2 to 3 weeks ago. But anyway, after the flashback's over, he calls Dylan and lets him know that I'm gonna do what we discussed the other night. And Dylan's like, okay, you sure you want to do that? Maurice is like, yeah. Maurice is like, I only stayed here for Sabrina anyway. So Miss India comes out the office with the paper, and she's like, can you sign this for me? And Maurice is like, yeah. Miss India is like, thank you for signing it. Maurice is like, you might want to check out the signature on the line, because I quit. Basically, like, you wouldn't like it if you were in a situation and somebody tried to get somebody to replace you the next day or the next couple days, would you? So why y'all trying to do that? It just shows me that corporations don't care about you. They'll replace you the next day after something traumatic happening. Maurice is like, there's a special place in hell for people like you, so you know what? Go to hell. He's like, I'm out, I quit. Paige is like, no, Maurice, don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. Over at the law firm, we see Zach and Fatima walking down the hallway, and Hayden approaches them, and he's like, what did I tell you about personal visits? I guess that just went over your head, right? Fatima tells Zach to basically ignore him, and Hayden's like, see, you and your hood rat boo thing need to go on somewhere. And Zach is like, I'm gonna show you her hood rat boo thing, and Hayden thinks he's all big and bad, and he starts walking away and starts talking crap, right? And Zach is like, you might not want to do that, because I'm gonna show you something. Hayden, you should have learned your lesson when Zach threw you down the stairs and beat you up. Like, why are you still trying to play with that man? That man is not to be. So Hayden basically walks away, and it's just Zach and Fatima talking, and Zach is like, why is it so quiet in here? Fatima's like, well, everybody's on lunch, and the partners had to travel and do some work. Zach is like, you know what that means? And Fatima's like, what? She already knew what Zach was trying to do, so Zach is like, you know what? We should switch it up. We should try to get down to business in Hayden's office. So that's what they go do. They go get down to business in Hayden's office. Everything is going well until Hayden's desk breaks, so they stop what they're doing and they try to fix the desk, but Zach can't fix it, so they just leave his office. Some time passes and Hayden comes back, and he realizes that somebody's been in his office because his desk is broken, and he tries to fix it. Over in Andy's office, Andy gets a call from the front desk saying that she has a visitor, and it turns out to be Dr. Vaughn. They sit down and have a conversation. He brings Andy flowers, and I'm like, Andy's okay with getting flowers now, but when it was Fatima, she had a whole problem. They have a conversation, and ultimately the conversation ends with Dr. Vaughn asking Andy to dinner, and Andy's like, yeah, I'll come as long as it's just friendly. And Dr. Vaughn is like, I promise it will be. Over at the salon, we see Maurice coming in to talk to Pam, and he's basically telling her about his day and how he quit the job, and Pam, of course, has something to say about that. But Maurice looks around, and he's like, the salon is mighty quiet today for us to be open. Pam basically lets him know that she's having a hard time juggling everything, and Maurice is like, well, where's the logistics? Where's the blueprint? He's like, I need everything, and Pam is like, I got you. Maurice is like, well, put an ad out for a hairstylist. Pam is like, I got you. So we all know that ultimately the stylist is going to be Cheyenne, and I wonder how this dynamic is going to be. Where Pam, Maurice, and Dan. Over at the juice bar, we see Rich talking to Madison, and they're basically having a small conversation, and she asks Rich if he's okay, because he has this look on his face. He's like, yeah, I just was at the hospital visiting a friend, but Rich is like, congratulations on her, aren't they? Madison's like, what you talking about? Rich is like, well, I heard about the bank, and you know what? The person that you outbid was actually my friend. Madison's like, it's a small world. We can clearly see that there's some flirting going on between these two, even if it's silent, but their body language reads more than anything. Alright, Andy's penthouse, we see Cheyenne on the phone and she eventually calls Hayden. Hayden's like, so I guess you changed your mind, you're hard. And Cheyenne's like, I guess you could take me out. And Hayden's like, what's your name? And she lets him know her name. And he's like, so what do I get in return? Cheyenne is like, you get my presents, but nothing else. I'm like, Cheyenne, I know that's right. I don't know the purpose between Cheyenne and Hayden in their storyline right now. I just hope that she doesn't turn out to be worse than Samara. Because Hayden's already been through enough. Even though he's been a hater, he doesn't deserve to have his heart broken again and again and again. And I think this time it's going to be worse because Cheyenne has a lot of baggage that's still on her that nobody knows about. Let me know what you guys think about the episode. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on your bell notifications. Bye!